Welcome to EngloStories. Today, we're sharing a beautiful tale called The Star Money, written by the Brothers Grimm in the early 19th century. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were German academics who collected and published folklore in the 1800s, preserving stories that had been told for generations. The Star Money is a simple yet magical story about a young orphan girl who has almost nothing in the world but her kind heart. Despite her own hardships, she chooses to help everyone she meets along her journey. What happens to someone who gives away everything they own to help others? Does kindness truly receive its reward? Or will our young hero regret her generosity? Join us as we explore this timeless tale about the power of selfless giving and discover how sometimes, when we think we have nothing left, the universe may have something wonderful waiting for us. Now, let's begin the story. In a small village surrounded by dark forests and rolling hills, there once lived a little girl whose life had been filled with sorrow. Her mother and father had both died, leaving her completely alone in the world. She had no brothers or sisters, no aunts or uncles who could take her in. The little girl lived in a tiny cottage at the edge of the village, with only a small bed and a wooden table to her name. Despite her difficult circumstances, the girl had a warm smile and gentle eyes that reflected her pure heart. She wore a simple dress that had been patched many times, a thin coat that barely kept out the cold, and a small hat that had once belonged to her mother. In her pocket, she carried just a small piece of bread, her only food for the journey ahead. One morning, as the sun rose over the distant mountains, the girl looked around at her empty home. There was nothing left for her here in this village where she had no family. With a brave heart, she decided to set out into the wide world, trusting that she would find kindness somewhere along her path. She closed the door of her cottage for the last time and began walking down the road that led through the forest. The girl didn't know where she was going, but she walked with hope in her heart, ready to face whatever adventures might lie ahead. As the orphan girl walked along the dusty road, the warm sun shone overhead and birds sang in the trees. She had not gone far when she encountered an old man sitting beside the path. His clothes were tattered, and his face showed the lines of many hard years. But what caught the girl's attention most was how he clutched his stomach and looked longingly at her. "Please," the old man said in a weak voice, "I have been traveling for days without food. I am so hungry." Without hesitation, the girl reached into her pocket and pulled out her only piece of bread. "Here," she said kindly, "take this. You need it more than I do." The old man's eyes filled with tears of gratitude as he accepted her gift. The girl continued on her journey, her own stomach beginning to growl with hunger, yet she felt a warmth in her heart that satisfied her in a different way. Later that afternoon, as clouds gathered overhead and the wind grew cooler, the girl came upon a small child sitting beside the road. The child had no hat or scarf and shivered as the cold wind blew. "I'm so cold," the child whispered, hugging themselves tightly. The girl immediately removed her own hat, the precious one that had belonged to her mother. "Take this," she said gently, placing it on the child's head. The child smiled brightly, and the girl walked on, feeling the cold wind in her hair, but warmth in her spirit. As evening approached and the temperature dropped further, the girl met a young woman huddled beneath a tree, The woman wore a thin dress with no coat or cloak to protect her from the growing chill. "The night will be freezing," the woman said, her teeth chattering. "I fear I won't survive it without something warmer to wear." Without a second thought, the girl removed her coat and wrapped it around the woman's shoulders. "Now you will be safe from the cold," she said. The woman embraced her with grateful tears, and the girl continued her journey, now feeling the bite of the cold air against her arms. As darkness fell and stars began to appear in the sky, the girl met another child who was crying softly. This child wore little more than rags that offered no protection from the night. "Why do you cry?" asked the girl. "I have nothing warm to wear," sobbed the child. Looking down at her patched dress, the girl removed it and gave it to the child. "Don't cry anymore," she said kindly. "This will keep you comfortable." Now the girl wore only her thin shift, but seeing the child's happiness made her own discomfort seem small. As the night grew deeper and the forest darker, the girl, now wearing only her thin shift, encountered one final traveler, a small boy with no clothes at all, shivering violently in the cold night air. "Please help me," the boy pleaded, his voice barely audible through his chattering teeth. "I have nothing to wear and nowhere to go." The girl looked down at herself. She had given away her bread, her hat, her coat, and her dress. Now she had only her shift, her last possession in the world. For a moment, she hesitated, standing barefoot on the cold forest floor. If she gave away her shift, she would have absolutely nothing left. Yet looking at the boy's suffering face, she knew what she must do. With trembling fingers, she removed her shift and handed it to the boy. "Take this," she whispered. "At least now you won't be cold." The boy wrapped himself in the garment with a grateful smile and disappeared into the forest, leaving the girl standing completely alone and naked under the vast night sky. She had given away everything she owned in the world, every single thing she possessed, to help others. As she stood there, vulnerable and exposed to the elements, something extraordinary began to happen. The stars above seemed to grow brighter, their light focusing on her as if they were watching. Suddenly, one star detached itself from the heavens and fell toward her, landing at her feet with a soft tinkle. The girl looked down in wonder. The star had transformed into a shining silver coin. Then another star fell, and another, and another. Soon, stars were showering down all around her, each one turning into gleaming coins as they touched the earth. At the same moment, the girl felt something soft and warm drape itself over her body. She looked down to find herself clothed in a dress made of the purest, finest linen. It seemed to glow with an inner light, warming her instantly. She stood there, bathed in starlight, as the heavens themselves rewarded her selfless heart. As the shower of stars gradually slowed, the girl looked around her in amazement. The forest floor glittered with countless silver coins, more money than she had ever seen in her life. She realized that she would never be poor again. Carefully, she gathered the coins into the pockets of her new linen dress, which seemed to expand to hold them all. With each coin she picked up, she thought not of what she could buy for herself, but of how many people she could help with this unexpected wealth. When morning came, the girl made her way back toward the village, her path now clear and her heart full of plans. As she walked, travelers stared in wonder at her glowing dress and the radiant smile on her face. News of her return spread quickly through the village. People who had barely noticed the orphan girl before now came to see her, amazed by her transformation. Some thought she must have found a treasure or married a prince during her brief journey. But those who had encountered her on the road, the old man, the children, and the young woman, recognized her immediately as the kind girl who had given them her possessions. They told everyone about her selfless acts, and soon the whole village knew the truth, that this was a girl who had given away everything she had to help strangers in need. The girl used her star money wisely. She bought herself a comfortable house with a garden full of flowers and fruit trees, but she never forgot what it felt like to be hungry, cold, and alone. Her home became a place where travelers could always find a meal and a place to rest. Children without families were especially welcome, and many came to live with her over the years. People said that her garden grew the sweetest fruit in the region, and that flowers bloomed there even in winter. The linen dress never wore out or became dirty, continuing to glow with a soft light that seemed to warm everyone who came near. And so, the orphan girl, who had once owned nothing at all, found that by giving everything away, she had received gifts beyond measure, not just silver coins, but a heart that remained forever rich in kindness and joy. The story of the star money teaches us that true wealth doesn't always come in the form of money or possessions. The girl gave away everything she had without expecting anything in return. She helped others simply because they needed help, not because she wanted a reward. This beautiful tale reminds us that generosity and compassion are more valuable than material things. Sometimes when we think we have nothing left to give, we discover that our kindness itself is the greatest gift of all. The universe has a way of recognizing and rewarding selfless acts of love. As the girl discovered, when we open our hearts to others, unexpected blessings may find their way back to us. If you enjoyed this story about kindness and generosity, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need a reminder about the power of giving. What would you have done if you were the orphan girl? Let us know in the comments below. Follow EngloStories as we upload a story daily so that you can look forward to our next video. Together, let's continue our journey of learning English through the magic of storytelling.